It's a wonderful day in the homiehood, a wonderful day for a homie. Won't you be my homie to Taro? Today is Tuesday, February 28th. Can't believe it. It's the last day of February. Feel like taxes are going to be like due any day now. And of course, I have once again procrastinated that process. Anyways, we are going to dig into our news as we do every weekday morning. There's a lot going on in Canada, and it's interesting always to dig into it together. One story that we covered a couple weeks ago, maybe a week or two ago, was about the Canadian soccer teams, specifically the women's team, who feels like they are getting shafted by Canada Soccer. We are now learning that Canada Soccer president, his name is Nick Bontis, has resigned amid quarrels with the national teams. So this to me feels like somebody who should be being held accountable, and I guess they are because they feel as though they need to resign. What I really like about this story in particular is that it shows a great example of having a labor crisis. And even our national teams, the people that we hold as national heroes, like the women's soccer team and the men's soccer team, they are still just working class folks, and they are able to withhold their labor in order to get demands and get accountability out of organizations like Canada Soccer. So players are wondering why Canada Soccer is crying poor after the organization signed a series of splashy sponsorships and the men won about $10 million in prize money for qualifying. So part of the problem here is that the men's team is not getting paid enough, and the women's team has apparently not been paid like at all. So this kind of culminated in a bit of an action, and there was a moment of solidarity between the Canadian women and their American opponents prior to the kickoff of the first game of the She Believes Cup in Orlando. And the two sides stood shoulder to shoulder in a circle at midfield, as you can see here in this picture. So, again, a wonderful example of solidarity. And what I really like about this is that it kind of shows that labor issues can be like put into the mainstream. So I hope that the women's team and the men's team are able to continue kind of fighting this battle. Earlier on Monday, TSN reported that the 13 presidents of Canada's provincial and territorial soccer federations had sent a letter to Mr. Bontis saying they had lost confidence in his leadership, and they were requesting for his resignation. After qualifying for the World Cup last March, the men began negotiations with Canada Soccer over how much of the prize money they would be able to keep for themselves. However, it sounds like they were not awarded anything of their prize money, or at least this article does not specify. But Mr. Bontis said that if the organization paid the men what they were demanding, there would be no money left over for other programs. So again, it sounds like, well, what did they get paid? Did they get paid of like any of the prize money that they earned? The players demanded Canada Soccer. Thank you so much, Lady Deathstrike, for the coffee donation. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for supporting us. So yeah, the players demanded Canada Soccer open its book and reveal the details of the deal with Canadian Soccer Business. So there's an interesting potential conflict of interest here between Canada Soccer and another organization called Canadian Soccer Business. So, in an open letter, the men alleged the deal had handcuffed the organization, preventing it from capitalizing on soccer's new popularity. Now, if you think about it, like soccer is the world's most popular sport. There's potentially a lot of money to be here. Our men's team in Canada has never been as good as it is now. They made the World Cup for like the first time in forever, if not the first time ever. I don't remember. And the women's team, they won the gold medal in the most recent Olympics. So they are arguably one of the best teams in the world, if not the best team. So it's crazy, really, that there's not enough money being allocated to the people who are doing this work, which is to say, the players. They are the working class people in this scenario. So there's all these new corporate sponsorships with CIBC, Gatorade, and they also make money from prize money and jersey sales. And it just sounds like this money isn't being distributed to the people who are doing the work. The multi-million-dollar agreement between that we make to Canada Soccer. This is Canadian Soccer Business. They're saying that the multi-million-dollar agreement guarantee that they make to Canada Soccer, they say that they're not making any money on that, and that they took a risk when nobody else was there. We were investing in the hope and belief that the property was going to become more valuable, and we are still recovering from that initial investment. So, I mean, that just like sounds like an excuse to me. If they are so invested in this company, then how come Canada Soccer and Canada Soccer Business is not investing in their labor force, which is in this case their players? In Ontario news, a new report has come out saying that, surprise, surprise, Ontario has enough land for 2 million new homes without touching the Greenbelt. Now, this is something that experts were saying before. It's something that experts are saying now. Here, this article is saying that Ontario already had enough land designated to build 2 million new homes, more than its overall goal of 1.5 million over the next decade, before it decided to release parts of the protected Greenbelt and force municipalities to earmark even more farmland for housing, according to new research. So, obviously, everybody already knew this, but of course, it is great to get confirmation, especially from a new report. This is coming from the Waterloo Director of Community Planning, Kevin Eby, and who is working with environmental advocacy groups, including the Environmental Defense. So again, this is echoing what people were already saying. Now, the NDP has focused on allegations that real estate developers or lobbyists may have attended a fundraiser held in advance of the wedding of Mr. Ford's daughter. This is the entire Stag and Doe controversy, saying that prominent building industry figures may have contributed to Doug Ford's daughter's wedding in terms of giving cash donations. There was, I think, $50 dinner per plate thing that they had to buy, and they were also encouraged to donate upwards of $1,000. So this is a scandal that the Conservatives are kind of trying to play defense on. However, they're really bad at playing defense, because I think it's so obvious that they are in bed here with wealthy developers. So NDP leader Marit Stiles said the report shows the government did not need to open up the Greenbelt to solve the housing crisis. Her questions in the legislature on Monday about the Greenbelt prompted a fiery response from PC government House leader Paula Calandra, who falsely accused the NDP of sending a photographer to the wedding of the premier's daughter to take a picture of the seating chart. So basically, I think they're just trying to throw mud and hope that it sticks. I don't know how they were not able to confirm that the photo in question, which has been obtained by multiple media outlets, was posted online by the couple's own wedding photographer. So like the leak is the wedding photographer that they hired, which is just like a fantastic display of the Conservative Party of Ontario failing here. So not only that, but Mr. Calandra, who also accused the NDP of implying that Italian-Canadian developers are unable to build homes
ethically. That means
ethically.
I can lie here and relax while my strength comes back to me.
Yo, thank you so much, CC. I really appreciate that. Good morning. That's 5 months in a row of subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we are covering the news right now. And thank you so much. What's up to you also, Giga Impact? Um, Good morning, everyone. So yeah, so Mr. Calandra here, of who is a conservative, is accusing Marit Stiles of anti-Italian Canadian racism, I guess. So honestly, this is just like the most entertaining thing ever, because I mean, who really is like anti-Italian in Canada of all things, you know? Like, I guess at one point we were at war with Italy, but I'm pretty sure we were also at war with Japan, and they interned all my ancestors. They never interned all the Italians or the Germans, you know? So I don't know. It's very, very strange to call this out in Canada. You know, of course, like there are intersections of Italian people potentially facing racism in North America. It's just seems very odd to call this out in this case, and it's definitely not what is happening here. So Ms. Styles coming back here saying we are raising these issues because Ontarians are deeply concerned, and I think the government showed yet again how desperate they are to avoid those questions. And that's exactly what's happening here. As I said, they're throwing mud and seeing what will stick. Well, I can tell you right now, this is not sticking. No one in their right mind would believe that this is anti-Italian sentiment when you know, it's like Doug Ford is very clearly just like in bed with these wealthy developers. They just so happen to also be Italian. You know, it's like imagine being white, I guess, and playing the race card in this way. Mrs. Stiles also alleges the land chosen for removal from the Greenbelt did not meet the government's own stated conditions that the properties must be on or near readily serviceable land. So the other criticism here is that the land that they want to develop is there's no existing sewer, water pipes, roads. So basically, they have to invest in so much infrastructure, which means it's going to cost a hell of a lot more than just building it in already developed areas of land. So it's a bad plan for so many reasons. Like, one, it's horrible for the environment. Two, it's obviously favoring wealthy developers that Doug Ford is in bed with. And three, it's going to cost us, the taxpayers, a shit ton of more money. So it's really just a horrible plan on all fronts. In our daily update now about the war with China, because it genuinely feels as though Canada wants to go to war with China and Russia these days. CSIS has uncovered a Chinese plan to donate to the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation. You know, it's I honestly want to prompt this story with, like, we always should keep an open mind when mainstream media like the Globe and Mail is launching allegations against China. It seems like it's been an ongoing campaign. Every day they are coming out with some new thing that is kind of like China is interfering with Canada's democracy. And this just feels like, okay, here's what we're talking about today. And it's always coming from the same people: Robert Fife, the Ottawa bureau chief, and Stephen Chase, the senior parliamentary reporter in Ottawa. So we have today, in the war against China, China appears to have targeted Justin Trudeau for a foreign influence operation. Beijing's plan involved donating a significant sum of money to the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation. Now, these are always, so far, it's like there's a slow drip coming out of a national security source that we don't know. We don't know the name of. We just are taking CSIS's word for all of these things. And I guess, you know, we can assume maybe that the Globe and Mail is doing its due diligence and confirming these things. But the fact is, these are not things that we all have access to. We essentially just have to take CSIS and the leak, whoever is leaking this, at their word. So again, a lot of skepticism about this stuff. I'm no fan of Justin Trudeau. But I'm also really worried that the way mainstream media and CSIS here is kind of beating the war drum against China. I'm just very skeptical about the narrative, the consent essentially that they are trying to manufacture. So Again, here, there's an unnamed commercial attaché who the Globe and Mail is unwilling to name, and one of China's consulates in Canada. At one of China's consulates in Canada, and billionaire Zhang Bin, a political advisor to the government of Beijing and a senior official of China's network of state promoters around the world. The source, who is again unnamed, said the diplomat instructed Mr. Zhang to donate $1 million to the Trudeau Foundation and told him the Chinese government would reimburse him the entire amount. Now, there is proof that yes, the Mr. Zhang did donate the $1 million to the Trudeau Foundation. As far as I can tell, there is no paper trail as to how they were reimbursed. And maybe they were reimbursed through money, maybe they are reimbursed through favors. I really don't know. Just weeks after the May fundraiser, or a fundraiser for the Justin Trudeau's Liberals, this was when Justin Trudeau was originally running for Prime Minister. The Trudeau Foundation and the University of Montreal announced that Mr. Zhang and another wealthy Chinese businessman, Niu Genqing, maybe this is some sort of Gensheng impact that is being created here, would donate $1 million to honor the memory and leadership of Pierre Trudeau, who as Prime Minister opened diplomatic relations with China in 1970. The Prime Minister's office has suggested in a statement that Justin Trudeau was unaware of Mr. Zhang's donation. So, I mean, this is not surprising. It feels like another day, another denial from the Trudeau office. How was this $1 million spent? $200 went to the Trudeau Foundation. $50,000 went to pay for a statue of the elder Mr. Trudeau, Pierre, and $750,000 went to the University of Montreal's Faculty of Law to fund scholarships, which included grants for Quebec students to visit China. And that is where Pierre Trudeau went to school. So it all kind of like makes sense if they are honoring Pierre Trudeau's legacy. So there's also, this is all kind of being tied into the public inquiry into Chinese interference in our 2019 and 2021 elections, of which there is even more skepticism about. Maurice Rosenberg, the former head of the Trudeau Foundation, has been selected to write an independent report into these things to monitor for 2021 election interference. The Conservative Party has immediately raised concerns that Mr. Rosenberg's involvement, which was not widely known before this week, is kind of like a conflict of interest, and they're referencing the $200,000 that were given to the Trudeau Foundation. So again, it's another boring Canadian Liberal scandal, potentially just involving some like money exchanging hands in a suspicious way. I don't know how damning this will be, but it seems like they're trying really hard to take down Trudeau and at the same time beat these war drums against China. So it's very strange, I guess, because during the Trudeau reign, I feel like relationships with China have worsened. So it kind of feels weird to me that this is all part of the same pipeline of news. Like China bad, Trudeau bad. Basically there is maybe a move here to be like, okay, well, if we don't have Trudeau, we're gonna have Pierre Poilievre, who's going to be tougher on China. And I guess that's what to me feels like the move here, because again, all of these sources are not publicly known. This is just the slow drip out of CSIS. Mr. Saint Jacques, who is the Canadian ambassador to China until October 2016. So the former Canadian ambassador said that during this period of time, Chinese officials would often tell him they wanted Mr. Trudeau to become prime minister. So this was in 2015, before Trudeau became prime minister. The Chinese are smart because after 8 years of Stephen Harper, there is a good chance that the government will be defeated, he said. When Trudeau was elected, some Chinese officials were extremely pleased. They said red is good and blue is bad. So, like, what a ridiculous statement. I guess red is good because communist China is good, and blue is bad because, I don't know, America bad. It was clear they were very pleased, and they thought the relationship was improving, and of course they did. He noted that the Trudeau government initially sought to negotiate a free trade deal with China. So yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to know what to think about this because it's it's all very suspicious and you know, condemning Trudeau in this way, trying to paint him as someone who is like pro China and working with the Chinese government in order to make Canada more like China. It honestly feels like a conspiracy theorist. I don't think that is Justin Trudeau's intentions. If anything, his intentions are aligned with the U.S., which is to be like hard on China to as hard as they can be without affecting our economy here in Canada. And speaking of Trudeau being hard on China, TikTok has now been banned from all mobile devices owned by Canadian government effective Tuesday. So I guess this is how we're being hard on China is TikTok is banned, not from everyone's device, of course, but just to federal government officially owned phones, because they are worried that TikTok is spying on these mobile devices. The government will also block the app from being downloaded on official devices in the future. So on February 28th, which is today, public officials in Canada will no longer be able to use TikTok. However, they all are able to use it on their personal devices. So don't keep international secrets on your personal device as a rule of thumb. Besides TikTok, no other social media apps are being blocked at this time, though the government is conducting a broader review of social media applications on work devices. TikTok's data collection methods provide considerable access to the contents of the phone, according to Mrs. Fortier, who is the one I think in charge of leading this investigation. The Treasury Board President, Mona Fortier. So I guess this to me again is very weird. It feels like we're singling out China. I feel like, why not single out Facebook or like an American media company like Google, Facebook for also essentially doing the same data collection techniques that we are experiencing from TikTok. It genuinely just feels like, well, China bad, therefore the app that comes from their country must also be bad. And, even though they are probably doing very similar practices as other social media apps that we all keep on our phone, we are singling them out. So it's strange to me. Obviously, these apps are data harvesting and are potentially unethical and illicit. In so much as they share our personal information with foreign entities. Again, I don't know how that is any different from Facebook or Google or Amazon or really anyone. So it's really confusing, I guess, to single out TikTok. Personally, I would like to advocate for owning the rights to our own data, and we should receive income from how our data is used. And whether that income looks like personally coming to us in our pockets or going to our governments to fund healthcare, I would like to see ownership of our own data, especially now with like AI coming out and our art being able to be stolen, or my voice being able to be stolen, and my image, my face being able to be stolen. I think it's even more important now. We need to strengthen these laws because the technology is advancing faster than our legal system is able to keep up with. And you might be appointed to the Supreme Court like they're facing in the US right now and have to face some of these ethical dilemmas that you really don't understand the technology behind, and you're essentially rendered unable to make those decisions, and you'll have to always defer to the experts who might also be in bed with the corporations who have a vested interest in how we collect or own our data. So I don't know. I think it's all part of a greater conversation. My concern is that the greater conversation is not happening. We are just focusing here on TikTok is bad because China is bad. TikTok spokesperson Daniel Morgan said the federal government was singling out TikTok, and I honestly understand why they feel that way. Federal NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is known for his use of TikTok. He's not the only federal politician on the platform. Obviously, lots of people use TikTok. However, which is kind of funny now, Jagmeet Singh and Pierre Poilievre are deciding to take a TikTok hiatus amid the government ban over privacy concerns. So this is, I think, a bit of a blow because obviously social media is one way that people campaign. So Pierre Poilievre and Jagmeet Singh are now taking a break. They have a combined 1 million followers, which isn't saying much because I think Jagmeet Singh has like 800,000 and Pierre Poilievre has about 200,000. Oh, here it's saying like Jagmeet Singh, almost 900,000 people are following Jagmeet on TikTok. So, however, as this article also points out, the strategy isn't really something that was able to boost Jagmeet Singh's seat count or the NDP's seat count. So it's a bit of a weird strategy, in my opinion. A lot of people make fun of Jagmeet Singh for like focusing on a TikTok presence because it really just seems like it's self-serving. It's not even helping the NDP in any significant way. So like, bro, maybe put the phone down. And I guess finally he is. Here's an official statement from the NDP as well. Pierre Poilievre, who only has 230,000 users, I guess, which is still, a lot. Has decided to go completely dark. So Poilievre going completely dark, and Jagmeet Singh has like deleted the app for now, but his account still exists. To me, again, it feels like a bit of virtue signaling. Poilievre is trying to be really hard on Trudeau because he's trying to frame Trudeau as someone who is in bed with China. And so Trudeau is taking this action against China. And now Poilievre is saying, hey, how can I take an even stronger stance than Trudeau? So it's kind of just like this race to see who can be the most hard on China. Very strange. The NDP's Matthew Green, who regularly posts videos, says that I'm equally skeptical of Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as I am TikTok. And I think centering the conversation solely around TikTok is less about TikTok and more about the country of origin, which is problematic for a whole host of reasons. So once again, Matthew Green, who I like, kind of being like the voice of reason here and trying to expand the conversation beyond just this one app. As it should be. We should all own our own data. We should all, have increased rights when it comes to selling the profit that we create. Essentially, it's our labor. It's kind of the same example as the Canadian soccer team here. It's our labor that makes these apps valuable. It's my labor right now making Twitch valuable or Twitter valuable or Instagram valuable or TikTok valuable. Without us, the users, committing our labor to those apps, and sure, it is just a fun thing to do, those apps would be worth nothing. So how come we don't get a cut in the massive profits that these organizations can make when they sell our data? And again, even more so, if someone is able to use my voice and my image to create media, I want to make sure that my rights as a human being are protected. So thank you so much for watching the daily breakdown of the news, Canadian news here on My Homie Tutaro. If you made it this far to the video, please comment. I thought it might be fun to start asking a question to encourage people to comment. So my question of the day is, what color socks are you wearing today? If you're here in Twitch chat, you can tell me right now. If you're barefoot, please I don't know. That sounds weird to like let us know if you're barefoot. This is not a foot fetish channel by any means, but let us know the state of the color of your socks, and we'll end it there. Peace.